Welcome to the Log Time Podcast. This go around we talk about Planet With, a sci-fi show with alien animals that eat people to become mechs, a maid princess, dragons, and a surprisingly sincere message and view to dish out. You definitely don't want to miss this one, so get on in here.
You know, honestly, like, I kind of feel like after watching Planet With, I kind of get this feeling that I could, like, see through walls or, like, you know, hear tastes or something. It's such a weird fucking show, you guys.
Really? I don't know. Maybe I'm weird because, like, episode 1 comes around, I'm like, yeah, all right. We got a psychic cat and some weird ass people. Okay. I don't know why my brain was just like, yeah, no, this is anime.
If you're gonna look me in the fucking eye and tell me that a human-sized cat with human fucking teeth that eats a small child to turn into a mech is not one of the most horrifying things you've ever seen in your life, I don't know what the fuck to even say to you at this point.
I was actually a little surprised on that part, yeah.
Matt, what?
That wasn't even the weird part for me. So
no, it's not the weirdest part. It's less the mech and it's more just his teeth.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, but what was the weird part for you?
The weird part, I guess, for me was that, like, so here's what my experience was. I turned on Planet With and realized, oh, this was not the anime I thought it was. And then there was that confusion for a few minutes. But then after I started getting into it, and I was like, you know, this is kind of weird. And I'm like, this is not the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but this is really weird. And that was about the extent of it for me. Was that I was like, this is a very weird cast of characters with very weird things going on. And I'm like, it doesn't really make much sense right now. I'm sure it will later, which it did. But then there was also the fact that I was like, I kind of had the John Mulaney, I guess, theme of this might as well happen, like, sort of thing. Like,
this might as well happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what I thought, because, I mean, I was just like, well, this is weird, but, I mean, this is, you know, it's anime.
Yeah.
This is not anything different than what I've seen before.
Right.
So
I think the thing about Planet With specifically is that we've all established from the get-go, except for Kyle, that this is pretty weird. And I think the fact that it came out of the gate just swinging with just
that's the thing.
The weird uncanny valley of it all, or just like the sheer oddness of it, helped it carry itself through the rest of the series. Because yeah, Matt, you're right. Like, when, you know, we get a dog commander that's here as part of a split federation to be like, okay, well, part of us wants to seal human evolution, and we want to seal it, but the other one wants it to evolve towards the evolution of love instead of the evolution of power. And I'm like, you're saying nothing. This means nothing. But okay, this may as well happen. You're right. Go on.
No, I mean, like, it definitely did catch me off guard, but I don't know. I think it was, like, after, like, a couple of episodes, I was like, all right, I guess I get this shtick.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, it starts out earnestly weird and playing itself very straight, and because of that, you know, because of that, like, weird degree of, like, swagger that it has to, like, how brazenly it approaches its odd, like, tone and everything else, it just kind of works throughout. Because, I mean, like, somehow just the dumbest shit happens throughout this. Oh, like, we can have some really serious emotional scenes that are completely offset by just, like, really fucking dumb humor. Like, there's this really touching moment where one of the Earth Defender boys, I think it is Yosuke, goes to visit Old Man Takazo's grave. And a monk's oh, hey, I'm glad you came to, you know, visit his grave. No one really ever comes to do it. It's kind of, you know, a shame that, of all things, he died by choking on a piece of mochi. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but they established how much he likes to eat.
Okay, yes, but we also get like a visage of his ghost like telling them to shut up.
Yeah. He's like, stop making fun of me.
And so like it's Planet With doesn't feel like the way that its tonal shifts go. It doesn't feel as though it should work, but somehow in its Matt, as you said, like weird cast of characters and the way in which it approaches its core concepts and themes and ideas, for some fucking reason it works.
Yeah, I think the way you described it as being brazen about the ideas it wants to express, I think that really helps it. Because it's like, hey, we're weird. We're going to do weird things. But we're going to tell a story. And you're going to like it. And basically, I mean, that's what it does. And yeah, so the weirdness kind of like, I guess you adjust to it. Because it's not, as I said earlier, it's not that weird. It's just a moderate level of weird. So once you adjust to it, you're just like, oh, okay, now I'm watching it for the story. There's a talking cat, and there's planet shit and all this stuff, but it's fine. Like, that makes sense with the story.
Because, I mean, like, honestly, the weird stuff with, like, again, cat commander eating small child to go mech is realistically just a different packaging of any kind of other, like, mech anime trope. I mean, it's literally G Gundam. That's how they pilot those, you know, Gundams in G Gundam. It's just, you know, they don't have skin-tight bodysuits in Planet With. It's just you command it with full, like, body motion, all this sort of shit.
Yeah.
And, like, you can see any kind of other, like, you know, thing getting subsumed into another thing, and then, you know, controlling a big mech. And then, like, honestly, I got such Gurren Lagann vibes when, you know, the mech was then subsumed into another mech and then became a bigger mech, and they just went like galactic size, and I'm like, well, I certainly haven't seen this before, but it all just works. So yeah, it's like, I don't want to say a learning curve or anything, but it's like you take an episode or so and you just kind of trust it, and it's like, yeah, okay, whatever, take me where you need to go.
Yeah, I feel like with this show, it's one of those that's like the story that it wants to tell, and like the tropes that it goes through are like we've seen a million times, but it's just like it just doesn't take itself seriously. It's like, yeah, we're gonna tell this pretty straight story, but we're just gonna fuck around too.
I mean, sure, and like I guess so. I think it might be a bit of a disservice to say the show like doesn't take itself seriously. Like, I mean, it's goofy as shit. Like, no one, I'm not going to contest that.
Yeah.
But like, I think that the core idea of Planet With maybe isn't even necessarily like the story itself, because I think what is at the core of Planet With is this sincere push for trying to live one's life in such a way that you are fostering kindness, and that you are being good to other people. Because there is that whole, you know, conflict of, you know, are we going to allow, you know, is Nebula as an organization going to allow any kind of species to progress towards the evolution of power or the evolution of love? And the whole thing, you know, is starting with a revenge story for our main character, Soya. And, you know, he's alien refugee who had his whole planet blown up by this big fucking dragon, and he's fighting to avenge his planet and take out anyone who's using the dragon's power. And it culminates at the end with him ultimately forgiving the dragon in the end, and being like, look, I get it, dude, it happens, I forgive you, it's fine, we can go on and live in peace. So it definitely takes a lot of its ideas seriously, even if its packaging may not necessarily be as serious as it could be.
No,
but
I think mean, it's having fun with it.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it looks to present its ideas in this different way works to its benefit, honestly. Because I feel as though if, you know, some other show were trying to tell a story and it looked like, I don't know, fucking Alnoa Zero or something like that, just a bunch of like space folks doing space things and standard, like, you know, space military armor and shit like that, like I don't feel as though I would have maybe been as invested in it, which seems like a weird thing to say, but I don't know. It's just they managed to create a weird, endearing cast that probably struck me more than a playing it straight kind of cast would have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess since I've seen Out No Zero, I'll comment on that real quick. But I think that what works for Planet With is that it somehow manages to use the interesting quirks that it has in order to bring out the I guess it makes the story more interesting by proxy, I guess, just by its existence. Because yeah, I think what you're saying is definitely true. If it was played straight, I think that a lot of people, or that the viewers themselves, would maybe just go, oh, okay, well, I kind of see what direction this show's gonna go, all of this stuff. It probably would have maybe played its hand too early if it wasn't for the weirdness, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it definitely works for the show's advantage, for the story it's trying to tell, because it kind of gives it a little bit more texture, in terms of just like fleshing out, like, or giving it room to flesh out other things than just the story or the plot line of trying to forgive people and such.
Yeah. And I think that way that you describe that, like giving it texture and giving it room to grow, is a very interesting way to put it. And I think that that's illustrated best in a kind of like its mid-season like climax, because the first 6 episodes of this show feel like they could be, if stretched out, the entirety of like an entire season of a show.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, because it's essentially an introduction of our main character, and he has like a bunch of fucking boss characters he has to go through, and ultimately fights this big dude that is obsessed with his own specific view of justice, and ultimately the dude like fucking turns to dust and ash, and I'm sitting here like, well, this should probably be the end, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing at that point.
Yeah, but the way that it kind of established its characters and its lore and the core ideas of itself, really did give it a lot of really interesting room, because it was one of the coolest fucking twists to me that the 7, I guess as the newscasters dubbed them, like the 7 warriors of light for Earth were all kind of like in one kind of pocket there, as like, okay, well, we're all going to stand up against the invaders, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But once episode 6 gets out of the way, it's like, oh, well, shit, they're all actually dividing up into different factions, because one of the other core ideas of the show is that there are different sides to everything, and people have reasons why they feel the way that they do about pretty much anything.
Yeah.
So, like, this unified front of the, 7 protectors of Earth suddenly get fragmented. Some of them are like, actually, maybe should seal up planet Earth. This might be dangerous. And so, just by the way that it carries itself, it gives itself a lot of room to grow and kind of branch out in the plot and thematic directions that it wants to. And again, I feel like if there was another show that was doing this, that was maybe a little more, again, like played it straight, I feel like it would be just way too much, and it would feel like it was putting way too many irons in the fire. But there's something about Planet With and the way that it has kind of like established itself that just make it work, or at least make me accept it easier.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Like, it's definitely its own unique beast, and because it plays in that space, it works where other shows might not. And yeah, I really liked that. Like, you get to it's episode 6, you get to the end, and you're like, well, where are we gonna go from here? And then all of a sudden, the story like really takes off, and it's a lot more interesting and more character driven. And I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a really interesting part was that, I guess I would say there's like 3 segments to the show. And honestly, yeah, each of those segments could have been its own like 12-season anime. I feel like now that technically, I think that would have been excessive, but
I think so too.
But I think I've seen anime do that before too. Like take each of those arcs and stretch it out. But
well,
it just.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I feel like to its benefit is that it just doesn't like dilly-dallying around. Like, it just like he's like, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna move on. We're not gonna really like have some filler in here.
Yeah, I think a good advantage of this show, or I guess just an advantage of this show, is that it just takes off. Like it doesn't really. There's not a lot of breathing room, or like a room where like nothing's happening, or like it doesn't like dwell on like subplots of anything. It just gives you the information, tells you, it allows you to run with it, to tell its story, and then it's done. Like which I think is really good for a show. Especially if it's interesting to kind of think about. I was thinking about this when I was watching it. Is that the fact that there's not a lot of what I would consider like, this is going to be kind of weird, but true sci-fi anime. Like, and by that, I guess I mean like something that's not Gundam, or something that just doesn't take place in space. Like I feel like this is maybe treading a little bit more of a higher thematic sci-fi genre like level, like with the themes of like humanity and such, and how we like deal with deal with different species, if that was a thing, or just trying to understand each other better. I kind of feel like it fits a more like I don't know. I feel like it's closer to an anime sci-fi than things that we would dictate as sci-fi and anime.
So it's kind of like it is trying to approach more high-minded scientific and like kind of the human condition sort of elements of science fiction, as opposed to stuff that's like, well, it's got robots in space, so that's sci-fi.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that probably that probably adds a little bit to the story for me as well. Just
it adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it doesn't even begin to like tell you how getting swallowed by a cat works on a scientific level. It's just like, nope, just roll with it.
Yeah. Which
right.
It's much more focused on getting those themes out of a science fiction story rather than like the minutia.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it doesn't really care about like getting lost in jargon or anything. It's more like, we have some ideas we want to explore, so just get in, losers. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which granted, there's a lot of different kinds of like sci-fi fiction out there.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like that as far as like what I guess this is a little bit of an opinion, but I feel like what I understand sci-fi as is a little bit more along the lines of what Planet With was trying to do. It was trying to talk about something on a larger level, like human interaction with, something unknown, or something that's, like intergalactic species that we've never encountered. Just something that's
like the evolution of man and stuff like that.
Yeah, just something. It's just something like along those topics, and it didn't go like too far deep into the rabbit hole, and it didn't go like too detailed on anything it didn't need to explain, because honestly, it wasn't related to the story, so nobody cared. So I think that's the approach that Planet With is taking, is that it doesn't matter what kind of details are in the story. It just, as long as we can tell it and get our point across, does it matter?
Yeah, they didn't need to go like District 9 levels of detail with this.
Yeah.
Just as a first contact story equivalent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because realistically, I can't think of any other anime that, in recent memory anyway, that deals with this kind of like first contact with a potentially dangerous alien species sort of thing, that doesn't just go tits up from the start.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's been a while. I know it's at least been a while for me of my own like personal viewing of stuff.
I mean, that's not to say that there hasn't been like other like what I would consider quote unquote like sci-fi anime within this category that I've described.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's
like,
probably been plenty, but yeah,
we just didn't see them.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like, I got a lot of Gridman vibes from this, like SSS Gridman from the last few seasons. Like, it gave a lot of the same vibes, and it was definitely trying to talk on a more, like, existential level, kind of like Planet With does, but, like, not anywhere near, like, the same, like, larger themes and concepts.
Yeah, I feel like Gridman was a lot more simplified, I guess. It was very, like, yeah. We talked about it in another podcast, so
yeah,
I won't go into
but
it.
I got similar vibes, not necessarily the same, like,
level of,
concepts
like,
out of it.
story, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I agree though. It is kind of similar in and it's kind of like the balance I guess it strikes between the serious story and like the goofiness, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's similar. I would agree.
Can I just talk briefly? Like, this is an important point, but holy shit! Like, the mechs looked almost exactly like Divine Beasts from Breath of the Wild.
They did.
Like, it fucked me up because I looked at that and I was like, huh, okay, that looks familiar.
really enjoyed
anyway, I just
that.
need to toss that in.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that style because, like, where these are supposed to be, they're using tech from various aliens and that kind of thing. Like, it made sense that it would look more ancient than, like, brand spanking new and, like, polygonal or whatever.
Yeah, because I mean they're dealing with literal, like, ancient alien shit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. Oh, also, if we're just gonna, like, plug small little details, the sound design, fucking on point.
Except when the sound in this show was 15 times louder than anything else and almost blew my fucking
Yeah,
speakers
I
out.
was gonna make that comment too.
I will.
Oh my
I will say
God.
the balancing could have used, specifically the balancing for those big impact hits, could have used a little toning down. But
A little toning down?
yeah,
A little toning down?
it was your fault. You had it turned up.
I just want to
I
say
had
that my
a-
volume was at 30% on my headset, like it always is, and I like now. Granted, had a FLAC audio going on, like a situation going on, but at the same time, that almost blew my fucking ears out.
That's what
So-
I'm saying, dude. I had this at a comfortable level, and it was like, hey, do you like hearing? Let's do some extra hearing for you.
All right,
Like,
all
what
right.
the
The balancing
fuck?
had issues, but the Foley and everything else about that, and, like, the actual sound of those big impact hits, they sounded really good, and I was like, ooh, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I knew Kyle was gonna like the sound design, but because it's good, except for the part where it blew my ears out. But yeah.
Every time that they punch a dragon, you're just like, quick hit mute.
I guess to, like, talk briefly again about the dumb mech shit, though, like, I feel like the show, and we've kind of already talked a good bit about, like, the balancing of, like, the serious and the goof and all that stuff, but I feel as though the wide variety of designs for stuff that they use, like, not just with the mechs, but also for, like, the different alien species and such,
because
made it such an interesting, like, rich, large universe.
because it's like all these, it's a galactic federation, so you see, like, tons of these different aliens, and it's really cool.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, you know, you'll get a lot of shows that have, like, different alien species, but most of them are, like, fucking all humanoid, and, like, some are just like, well, this one has an antenna, and this one's got extra fingers, and it's like, okay, that's kind of boring, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah, this one was not afraid of just having, like, a fish in a bowl walking around on two legs. Like, it was like, yeah, might as well.
Yep.
It's weird out in space.
Yeah. John Mulaney. This may as well happen.
This may as well. Basically, the tagline for this show.
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
Yeah. Planet with, I guess.
Yeah. The alien design was cool. There was, like, I noticed in the background, there was, like, this red random brick thing with, like, a random yellow, like, mouth? Question mark?
Oh, dude, what?
And I was like, is this the Kinaro mosaic domino? I finally found the origin.
We found where it came from.
Anyway.
Oh, that's sick.
I was just like, all right, well, this is interesting.
Oh my god.
And then that's when I was like, this show is good. Check mark. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just so many like small dumb things that I really loved about this show.
Yeah.
And you know, anything from like Soya training with fucking iron clogs,
Yeah.
and then ending up using them as a weapon, or like him desperately trying to get any kind of meat, and at every turn it's like, well, this is a steak, but it's daikon radish, or oh, I got a meat bun, but it's fucking red bean paste, or this, that, or the other. And I'm just like, just fucking give this kid something.
Yeah, I always felt
Can we
so
give
bad.
this child fucking anything?
Yeah. I think one of my favorite goofball scenes was like, I think it was in one of the later episodes where the Generalissimo and the cat thing, which I don't remember the name, but they're in a standoff with Soya and the other girl, Shiraishi, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they're talking as surrogates, like,
Yeah. Oh my god.
and they just are like going back and forth. They're like, they won't talk to each other. They're just talking like
through their surrogates.
Yeah.
So Sensei says, so Generalissimo says.
Yeah. And I'm just like, wow, like this is stupid right now, but I like it.
I love that it even brought to attention like early on whenever Sensei's just nyeh, and then it's like a 12 page long sentence, and like Soya's like, I don't think he said all that. It's like, no, he did, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, one of my favorite bits of the whole thing is it's like maybe in one of the first 2 episodes, Soya runs off because Ginkgo and Sensei called him off to be like, hey loser, come outside, there's a monster going and we gotta do shit. He's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And
I know exactly what you're about to say.
Our sweet fucking class representative is like, oh, okay, please come back, I'll be waiting for you. And like, he just doesn't fucking come back. And she's being interviewed on TV the next day, and she looks at the reporter and said, my friend left to go to the bathroom and never came back. Do you think he ever found the bathroom?
I'm very worried that he was not able to find the bathroom.
And I'm just sitting here like, oh my god,
the world's being
Nozomi.
invaded, and this is what you care about? Like that's Planet With right there.
Like, even the reporter was like, don't worry, I'm sure he found one.
Yeah. I just, oh my god, it's so good.
I also love, like, they eventually do twist it around, but in the first 2 episodes,
oh my god,
Soya realizes that he's going to be used as a soldier, and they're like, wait, I have to kill the Super Sentai guys? I thought I had to kill the alien. He's like, and they're like, no, you have to kill the Super Sentais. And it was basically like the that one comedy scene where it's the two Nazi soldiers in the camp, and they're just like, are we the bad guys? Are we the baddies? Because he's like, oh shit, am I in the bad guys team?
That was just such an interesting twist for this to take as well. Because kind of to go off of, you know, the whole idea of there are different sides to everything, everyone has a different perspective. It was so neat to see this show take this idea that, you know, these people that may view themselves and that people at large may view as heroes may, you know, be doing what they're doing as a result of the losses or the death of other people. Because I mean, like, our soldiers of light are using like dragon mech technology that was used by the dragon that fucking destroyed Soya's home planet. And so there's the whole system of like, is this okay to use? Can we actually do this in good conscience? Like,
yeah, there was it was like twofold, because it was in one way it was like sometimes these people are doing good things but for the wrong reasons. And then you also had that Machiavellian kind of thing where it's like any means necessary, and you're just like, but does that justify? Do the ends justify the means? And so it's
Right.
like I thought that was neat to bring up about like, yeah, sometimes the good guys aren't always the good guys, or they're not, or they're not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah. Or this is just a complicated issue, and there's not an easy black or white solution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I like that too, because by the
I
end
think that's more it.
I think that's the ending like thing that it says, because by the end of it, all of these people that were fighting throughout this whole series, they're all on the same team. And they're all like, yeah, we love you guys. You're great.
Yeah, they just have kind of different opinions on how to go about it, or, you know, they have their own reasons for doing what they do, even if they don't make sense to the others in the group. It's just, there is a reason, but only they can understand it, I guess.
And I feel like it's so important to have a show that is addressing things in this way, especially since we, as just like civilization at this point, are so wildly polarized on like anything and everything.
Right.
And you know, the idea that you can disagree on things but also still work together towards a common goal is something I think that a lot of us have just completely fucking lost at this point. So it's nice to see something come out and pretty directly say, hey, but actually, like, you can get along with people and you can have different opinions and sides of things and actually maybe be decent people. Especially, like, also when there's so many series and anime that, you know, are kind of like about the clashing of two different ideals. But, like, it's almost always, you know, when the dust settles, only one can survive. And it's refreshing to see a show that's like, but what if we did something different?
Or
I don't know,
or
man.
I don't know, like just even taking that idea and going, well, there's not good and there's not evil. Like, it's just people doing things for their own reasons, and that's not necessarily good or bad. Which, that's definitely something I like to see within a show that just says, hey, there's not an answer to this, which, you know, I think that's just really cool.
Yeah, and like even by the end of it, the dragon, our very like our all powerful bad guy, is accepted back like into his own community, and it's just like, yeah, I don't need to hate anymore. I don't need to like cause violence. It's like we can just be chill. You do you.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think I'm going to be thinking about Planet With for a while. Honestly,
was so much fun too. Like it had great ideas, but yeah, I think I'm going to be thinking about it because I just had a lot of fun watching it.
it was definitely it took me a little bit to kind of like get into it, but when I did, like, I think I really started to enjoy it, and it's something that I think it's gonna stick around for a while. And yeah, I mean that's Planet With.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of small things that we could talk about, but I just I don't know, man. Like, I just appreciate it for being so completely its own thing.
Yes. I appreciate it for existing.
Yes, yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah. That's the
also shout outs to a show that drops the amnesia trope like episode 1. It's just like, no, he didn't actually have amnesia, it's fine.
Well, I mean, he did have amnesia.
Well, okay, yeah, he did, but then he just remembered everything, and it's like, oh, it's all good now.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Speaking of amnesia, I think that I feel like I've seen that maid girl in another anime, but I know that's not right.
Yo, I fucking swear I have to.
Just saying,
okay.
Like, her character design, good character design. Just saying, I feel like I've seen it before, and it bothers me. Because I can't remember where it's from. Yeah. Anyway,
thank y'all for coming with us.
Yeah.
Planet with us.
Go watch this show if you haven't. It's a good show. And I guess we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. As always, you can find all our podcasts, articles, videos, etc. at thebackloggers.com. Our intro and outro song is The Bear by Shell and the Pit, who you can find on Spotify and Bandcamp. And we'd love to hear from y'all in the comments on our site, on the podcast platform of your choice, or by saving the world from an ancient evil. We kind of need the planet to keep doing this podcast. And as always, we're on Twitter at _Backloggers, so pull up a log and stop in for a bit.